The Samsung Galaxy A71 5G is here, offering high-end internal specifications, a sleek design, and more. It's also relatively inexpensive for what it has to offer, and in fact, it's one of the cheapest phones to offer 5G support so far. But it's not the only phone aimed at offering excellent value for money. There's also the OnePlus 8, which is one of OnePlus's latest and greatest flagship phones. Now, this isn't necessarily a fair comparison. The OnePlus 8 is quite a bit more expensive and clearly the better phone. But is it so much better that it's worth paying the extra cash? I've used both phones and put the two head to head to find out. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really supports my work and I would appreciate that support. The first thing to notice between the two phones is their design, and while they both look good, I generally prefer the overall look of the OnePlus 8. On the back of the OnePlus 8, you'll get a vertically aligned camera bump, housing the triple lens camera, along with a OnePlus logo. On the back of the Galaxy A71, there's a rectangular camera bump on the top right, bringing the device more in line with other Galaxy devices, and phones like the iPhone 11 Pro. Around the edges, both phones have a volume rocker, power button, and USB-C port, but the Galaxy A71 has another feature, a headphone jack. That's a pretty big deal for some. The front of the device is a little different too. The OnePlus 8 has a hole punch camera cutout on the top left, while the Galaxy A71's camera cutout is in the center. And the OnePlus 8 has a curved display, which some like and others hate. I personally like the look of it, though there were times where I accidentally triggered the display with my palm. The build quality of both of these phones is pretty good, though the OnePlus 8 generally feels a little better in the hand. This is perhaps due to the fact that the device has a glass back instead of a plastic one. That said, it is quite a bit heavier too, though it's not too heavy. The OnePlus 8 has a 6.55-inch AMOLED display with a 1080p resolution and a 90Hz refresh rate, which puts that display slightly ahead of the Galaxy A71's display, which is AMOLED and has a 1080p resolution, but sticks with a 60Hz refresh rate. That said, the A71's display is a little larger, coming in at 6.7 inches. Generally, the 90Hz refresh rate does make a difference, ensuring that animations are smoother and the display just feels more natural overall. Both displays can get easily bright enough for most, though the Galaxy A71 may be able to get slightly brighter. The speakers on the OnePlus 8 can definitely get louder than those on the Galaxy A71, and they seem to offer a little more depth too, which is nice to see. That's not to say that the speakers on the Galaxy device sound bad. They're just not quite as good as the speakers on the OnePlus 8. Then there's performance, and it's probably the biggest point of difference between the two phones. While the Galaxy A71 offers a Snapdragon 730 processor with 6GB of RAM, the OnePlus 8 steps things up to a Snapdragon 865 processor and either 8GB or 12GB of RAM. The difference is pretty huge. The Galaxy A71 performs pretty well and was generally responsive and smooth, but there were times when it stuttered under heavy multitasking and it didn't load games quite as quickly as the OnePlus 8. The OnePlus 8 is simply one of the best performing phones out there, and it shows. Benchmark results confirm the big difference in performance. The OnePlus 8 clearly beat out the Galaxy A71 in every score, and the scores weren't even close. Both phones will do fine in gaming, but if you're really into mobile gaming, then you'll probably want to go for the OnePlus 8. The Galaxy A71 offers a 4500 mAh battery, which is pretty big, and it easily allows the phone to last through a full day of relatively heavy use. The OnePlus 8, on the other hand, has a slightly smaller 4300 mAh battery, though again, it was easily able to last a full day of use. In my battery test, which involves streaming a YouTube video at 1080p at full brightness for 3 hours, the Galaxy A71 ended the test with 78% left, while the OnePlus 8 ended with 76%. Safe to say, the devices will offer similar battery life that should be more than enough for most. Neither of the two phones have wireless charging, but they do both have fast charging tech, so you'll be able to quickly top up. That said, the Galaxy A71's 25W fast charging tech isn't as fast as the OnePlus 8's 30W tech. The camera is also pretty different between these two phones. OnePlus has been putting a lot of effort into ensuring that the OnePlus 8's camera is high quality, and it shows here. While it may not quite match the likes of the Pixel 4 or iPhone 11 Pro, it certainly is flagship quality. The Galaxy A71, by comparison, isn't quite up to the same level. The Galaxy A71 offers a quad lens camera with a 64-megapixel main sensor, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide sensor, a 5-megapixel macro lens, and a 5-megapixel depth sensor. It would have been nice if there was a telephoto lens here instead of a macro lens, but the inclusion of an ultra-wide sensor is definitely nice. The OnePlus 8, on the other hand, has a 48-megapixel main sensor, a 16-megapixel ultra-wide lens, and a 2-megapixel macro sensor. Generally speaking, the OnePlus 8 is able to capture more detailed photos with more dynamic range. Photos are more colorful too, and the phone can capture better photos in low light. Like I said, low light photos still aren't as good as those from the likes of the Pixel or iPhone 11, but they're certainly not bad. On the front, the OnePlus 8 has a 16 megapixel megapixel sensor, while the Galaxy A71 has a 32 megapixel sensor. But while the Galaxy has a higher resolution camera, again, OnePlus's photos are a bit more detailed and colourful. The software experience between the Galaxy A71 and OnePlus 8 is drastically different. The Galaxy A71 comes with Samsung's One UI, and that means that while you get a ton of customization, you'll still have to deal with a heavy operating system and quite a bit of bloatware. One UI has gotten better and better over the years, but it's still not as stripped back as operating systems like OnePlus's Oxygen OS, which is close to stock Android. I'm not going to go super in-depth comparing the two Android skins, but you can see a full comparison through the link in the description. What I will say is that system files on the OnePlus 8 take up around 20 gigabytes of storage, which is quite a bit less than the Galaxy A71. Both the Galaxy A71 and the OnePlus 8 have an in-display fingerprint sensor, and while they both work reasonably well, the sensor in the OnePlus 8 seemed to work a lot faster and more accurately than that in the Galaxy A71. The sensor in the A71 still worked reasonably well, and that in the OnePlus 8 did fail occasionally, but it was still a whole lot faster. Of course, both the phones also support 5G. The OnePlus 8 doesn't really support millimeter wave unless you buy it from certain carriers, but for most that won't be an issue. At this point in time, I wouldn't recommend buying a phone specifically for its 5G support, but that will likely change over the next few years. There's no denying that the OnePlus 8 is simply a better phone, but it's also a whole lot more expensive. Is it worth the extra cash? Well, I think so. Considering the fact that the Galaxy A71 5G is $600 in the US from T-Mobile, it's well worth spending the extra $100 for the vastly better performance, arguably better design, better camera, and so on. That said, the Galaxy A71 is still a great phone, and if you do end up going for the device, you'll love it. You can buy both of these phones using the links in the description. Thanks so much for watching this video, and again, please hit the like button and subscribe if it was helpful to you. My name is Christian, and I'll see you next time. See ya.